Have you ever wondered where money came from, how banking was born, what is the origin of the stock market, what was the first asset bubble, how did the bond market develop? You will learn answers to these questions in this video series based on the book Ascent of Money by the historian Niall Fergusson. In this first video, we will investigate the origin of money, starting with coins. The earliest coins date back to around 600 BC. They were found by archaeologists in the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, today's Turkey, in the Old Kingdom of Lydia. These coins were made from electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. Standardization was hard because the ratio of gold and silver could vary in the electrum. That is why the coins were later replaced with coins of pure gold and silver, so their value could be determined only by their weight. The coins had a standard weight, certified by the royal seal. As such, the Lydians were the first ones to invent both standardized coinage and a bimetallic monetary system. Ancient Greece utilized mainly standardized silver coins, drachmas. The Athenian drachmas became the most popular and could be used for payment all over ancient Greece. The Romans added copper and copper alloys such as bronze and brass for coins of smaller denomination. The most famous coins were the golden aureus, silver denarius and bronze sestertius. With regards to coins, Europe was ahead of China, where the first coins, made of bronze, were introduced only in 221 BC by the first emperor of unified China, Qin Shi Huang. Medieval Europe still basically used the Roman coinage system. However, there was a chronic shortage of silver. Demand for money was much greater in the more developed trading centers of the Islamic Empire in the Mediterranean and the Near East, so precious metals tended to drain away from the much more backward Europe. One way to overcome the shortage was to sell timber and slaves in return for silver in Baghdad or for gold in Cordoba or Cairo. The other way was through war. Ferguson suggests that the crusades were as much about a monetary shortage as about religion.
There must be war. God wills it!
A new era in the world's history was about to change that. Francisco Pizarro launched his third expedition in 1530 with 3 ships and 180 men. Within 2 years, the Spaniards confronted the new Incan emperor, Atahualpa. After he refused to submit to Christian rule, Pizarro annihilated the Incan army, even though the conquistadors were vastly outnumbered and Atahualpa was imprisoned. To free him, the Incans collected 13,000 pounds of gold and double that amount of silver. Still, Atahualpa was publicly executed in 1533. In following years, the Incan Empire was plundered by the Spaniards. The Incas could not understand the obsession of the conquistadors for these metals. They did not know that in Europe, gold and silver meant money, a transportable unit of wealth, a store of value. They had no such concept. Even after Pizarro's death, the obsession with these metals continued. In 1545, the wildest dreams of the Spaniards became reality. Cerro Rico, a mountain near the city of Potosi, was discovered to contain a large amount of silver ore. To this day, it remains the largest silver mine the world has ever seen. Initially, the Spaniards paid local villagers to work in the mine, but later reverted to forced labor. The conditions were brutal and the death rate staggering. In the next 200 years, the Cerro Rico yielded 45,000 tons, that is, 100 million pounds of pure silver. The silver was transformed into bars and coins and shipped back to Seville. Thanks to the mine, the city of Potosi grew to a population of 200,000, larger than most European cities at the time. However, with so much silver being shipped to Europe, the Old World got a lesson from monetary economics. If you rapidly increase the money supply without a proportional increase in actual economic output, you almost inevitably get inflation. With large increase of silver in circulation, Spain and all of Europe witnessed a so-called price revolution, which affected the continent between 1540s and 1640s. During the century, cost of living in England, for which we have the best data, increased sevenfold. This corresponds to average inflation of only 2% per year, which is the current inflation target of most central banks. But during the Middle Ages, the prices basically remained the same for hundreds of years. Even though coins from rare metals were the most typical form of money in history, and we use coins to this day, the vast majority of money today are so-called fiduciary money. That is, they are not backed by anything intrinsically worthy, such as gold, but rather depend on trust among people. Or in case of fiat money, on the laws. Let's turn to the history of non-physical money. The story begins around 5,000 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia. There, people used clay tablets to record transactions and debts. One well-preserved tablet, for example, states that the bearer should receive a specific amount of barley after harvest. As an interesting side note, this means that first written records that humanity has created were not produced to write poetry, history or philosophy, but to do business. Conceptualizing money this way was the first necessary step for developing finance and banking, which we will explore in the next video.